Hello, can you hear me now? All right, cool. So hi everyone, welcome back to another session of creating Booksy. So for those of you who don't know, Booksy is a book library that I'm trying to create with React Native and FaunaDB. In the previous sessions, we did make an app using React Native and it works. So I can just run it quickly so you can see. Let me just quickly install everything. Alright, so npx on iOS. Hopefully this will work. You should be hearing some music as well right now. Can you hear the music too? Alright, cool. So this is where we got in the previous two sessions. We created the home, search, and settings screen. Home and settings screen are empty, but the search screen has some stuff in it. You can search for what you like at the start site, and then you can see the book details. And we also made everything kind of look nicer a bit with following the system preferences for light mode. So I can quickly show you how that works. So if you change your system preferences to light, then go back to Booksy, it's now light. I mean, there are still some issues. For example, the texts here are unreadable, but we can take care of this later. But today I was okay. All right, cool. I'm just gonna go back to microphone. Sorry. Some music might be better for when I'm not talking. We're learning. Cool. So what we want to do today is create the authentication flow, and for that, there are a few ways that we can do that. The easiest way that you might want to do in your own application is using something like Firebase. And Firebase kind of is an all-in-one solution for you if you want to create your React Native app or iOS or Android app. It has databases, machine learning stuff, cloud functions, authentication, hosting, everything that you would want to ask for. You can have a look at it. It's actually free for you to use. So the free plan includes a generous amount of usage for you. And I usually use Firebase in most of my mobile projects and also web. However, in this project, I wouldn't be able to use Firebase as nicely as I would want. And the reason is we're creating a book library, and creating a book library has some limitations. Because we have the concept of books, and those books would be read and manipulated by everyone who is a member of our app. If I use something like Firebase, because the database is NoSQL, it would be a bit difficult to manage. And I like relational databases for this kind of product. And speaking of relational databases, we usually think about MySQL or Postgres or something like that. But there is actually a better option right now. And this is something I have been wanting to try for a while now, and that is FaunaDB. So FaunaDB is an almost relational database. It's not fully relational like MySQL or what you're used to, but it does have relations, and it also supports GraphQL, which we will be using. And it's created for serverless products, which is pretty cool. and it does have a pretty generous free plan. So what's included here in the free plan is like 100,000 reads per day and 50,000 writes, which are plenty for what we want to do. And if you go higher than that, you can use the utility or pro, which are a bit more expensive. But this is the utility you can just pay per 100,000. So if our app at some point gets really popular, we can use that. So this is I'm going to use FaunaDB for the database, but I'm going to be using Auth0 for the authentication. So Auth0 is an all-in-one authentication system. So you just integrate it once, and it lets you connect all kinds of clients to your stack. For example, you want to let your users log in with Google, Facebook, anything else basically, or Apple authentication, or SMS, or email, just like normal sign up. You can do that with Auth0. And the reason I want to use Auth0 for this is it's just hassle-free. It has a pretty good framework for React Native, and also similarly, it does have a free plan included again. So the free plan, if it shows what it includes, here it goes. So it supports up to 7,000 active users. So active users are people who actually use your app at any point of time. So if you have, like, let's say 10,000 users, but only 7,000 of them use your application actively, then it means that they're active users, so you won't be charged. And basically, you can connect up to 2 social connections, which is plenty for now. We don't want to do so much. I mean, the other ones are not so expensive. You can use those, but the free one would work just fine for our use case right now. So let's start by connecting Auth0 to our React Native application. So the first thing that we want to do is create a screen when the user is not logged in yet, right? So we want to show the login flow before we show this page, because this is something that the authenticated user should see. By the way, I fixed the latency issue, so if you guys type in the chat, I would be seeing it a bit faster than usual. And I see in the preview, I think I'm almost real time. Just let me know if you have any questions or you want to help me with something. Cool. Yeah, let's dive right into it. So what we want to do is create a new screen. Let's open our home screen. And if you don't know what I have been doing before, just maybe follow the other YouTube videos that we did together, or just look at the source code. And I will create a link in the description to the repository that the source code is in. But let's just create a new page and call it like auth.tsx. And this one should be called auth screen. Let's just keep this for now. And then we don't need the search bar, and then we can keep the title as Booksy. And then we go to routes. Here we would put auth screen. There we go. We have this now. And now we can go to the navigation. Here, if you remember, we created set main as root and set auth as root. So now we have to implement set auth as root, because if you see here, we're now calling set main as root, but here, if user is authenticated, do this, otherwise call the set auth as root. So let's just do that quickly. Now let me close everything else, open navigation. Cool. So what we want to do is basically do the same thing, but we don't want to create button tabs. So let's see if we can do this without looking at the documentation. So we do navigation, let's set root, and then it's root, and then it's stack, and the first stack, no, doesn't work like that. Maybe children, yes. And then the first child would be just component name routes.auth screen. And then let's not do any options. And then let's see if this compiles. It does, no issues so far. So instead of calling set main as root, we want to call set auth as root. Cool. So auth screen has not been registered, and the reason is we do have a register thing, and here we have to add that new route that we added. So auth screen, and then the component is auth screen. Automatically imported that. Here we go. We have this now. Cool. So here we don't want a top bar. So let's just go to auth screen and then disable the top bar visible false. What? Reload. Okay, yeah, we did talk about this settings here. If you change them, it doesn't automatically change anything here. All right, just a second, pardon. Cool. All right, so what we want to do is create a button here that lets the user sign in. So instead of this text, we can just do button. We need this tile sign in or sign up. And what we want to do when this is pressed is onPress handle sign in clicked. Oh my god. Okay, cool. And then here we have a const handle sign in clicked, and it's a callback that we would call here. What you want to do. So now it's time to implement Auth0 in our project, and what we would want to do here is let me remember Auth0 React Native. Cool, it does have a quick start that we can just follow together to see what it takes for us to actually implement Auth0. So first things first, all right, we need a domain and client ID. I'm gonna sign in to Auth0 on another window quickly. Sorry, just a second, listen to some music. The reason I'm doing this is I have other stuff in my Auth0 account which are NDA related, so I can't be publishing live stream. Cool. Can you just put this? Alright. Okay, what happens? Alright, cool. Can I just drag this into the other one? Alright, so it asks you to create an account. I mean, that's basically the necessary bit of this. You just need to create an account and create a tenant, and then you will have a thing like this. And then once you come here, it has a default application that you can just use. So let's just continue with configuring this. The first thing, it tells you which screen you want to go, which is this screen. Right. So install dependencies. We just need to install this quickly. Cool. Installed. We're not using npm, we're using yarn. And then for iOS, it has some native dependencies that you have to do this to install. So cd iOS and pod install. Awesome. So integrating Auth0 in your application, there are a few more steps that we have to do to integrate Auth0 into our application, and the reason is it needs some native capabilities of iOS and Android to work. Let's not do Android for now because we have the iOS simulator running and this will take a bit of time, so let's just skip to the iOS part. And then it says that in app.delegate.m we have to add this part. So that's pretty straightforward. You just open the project, go to app.delegate.m, copy this thing, just come here and then add this, and then we have to import this on top as well. Let's just put it here. So now if we save this and then run npx run iOS, it has to come back to the screen again. Cool, it didn't break. Means that we're on the right track. So if you change something in this native code and it breaks, it means that something is very wrong. Now we just continue. Alright, it says that next you will need to add a URL scheme in your app's bundle identifier. So it says to edit info.plist. So you can do this in Xcode or you can just do it in Visual Studio Code. If you come here in iOS, in Booksy, there is a info.plist. Also in Xcode, you can just click on info.plist. It shows you the visual editor, but you can also open as source code. Alright, the thing it wants is this CF bundle identifier, but the thing is this is already included in this, so you don't need to add it again. But you do need to add this to the end of the file. So you just copy this and then put it here at the end. It adds another key, CF bundle URL types. And if you go back to the visual thing, it added this URL type. So we could just come here and add it visually, but it was just easier to copy paste it from this source code thing. All right, now I'm gonna skip this part and go right here to show you why it doesn't work if you skip this part. Because, okay, let me just explain this quickly. When you have a new React Native project, it has this thing, the bundle identifier. You can see it in general. You see here. This value is something that Auth0 needs to recognize to know that this is the same app that you're calling it from. But let's just see what happens if we don't do this correctly. So let's just go a bit lower and then implement this thing. So import Auth0 from Auth0. Let's do that. Here. Okay, first of all, this is throwing an error because the TypeScript definition is not found. Just yarn add types React Native on Auth0. This is something that you have to do for TypeScript projects. If there is a type definition, it's better to just have it. And you can see the error went away. And then we have to do this, create an Auth0 client, which is pretty simple. You just put this here. You have to put your domain and your client ID. And then for that, we just come here and there is domain and client ID. You take the domain, put it here, client ID as well, put it here. Cool. What's the next step? Next step is just you authorize. So we want to do this when they click this button. Let's just put this here, Auth0 web auth. It needs OpenID profile email scope, and then we take the credentials, but because we are not using the class component, we can just get rid of this. And then we can see what's in credentials. So console log credentials. And then handle sign click. So this should already work. Let's just reload one time for good measure. And I have this here. So what happens if you click? Booksy wants to use Auth0 account to sign in. So when you deploy your app to production, this would be asked one time and then it would stop asking once you allow it to. But here in development, this happens. Cool. So as you can see, it says callback URL mismatch. The reason is the bundle identifier here doesn't actually match what I have selected in the app settings here. So if you see, okay, if we go back here, it says that configure the callback URLs. And then the callback URL is this, me.salar.livestream.booksy. And so it does have a bundle identifier. So our app's bundle identifier needs to match this value that we put here, or the other way around. You have to change it to that. So I can come here and just put this into this value here. And then go to build settings and actually search for it to see if it was actually changed. Bundle identifier. So it is now me.salar.live.booksy. So we have to run it one more time. So the actual URL will be changed in runtime. By the way, what quality are you seeing the stream? Is it 1080 or are there issues with that? Let me know in the chat. But yeah, so now when we click this, it just went away. And the reason is I was already signed in. You can see here. Okay, let me just also add a sign out code just to const handle sign out click. So what we want to do is actually sign out. So if you scroll here, it says that you can sign out. Okay. Console log, success, and then what's the clear session thing doing? We don't want to pass anything. All right. So let's add another button, say sign out, and sign out. Let's see what happens. Success. Oh, well, seems like it was successful. All right, so let's click on the sign in button again. So when you do sign in, okay, it shows this screen and there's an alert, dev keys, currently using development keys. Yes, because we're using this in development, it alerts us, but you can cancel this and then click it again. This window pops up. So you can continue with Google or just sign up if you have previously done so, or just log in, and you can edit this page here. So if you come to your application details and then you go to universal login, this is called the universal login. Okay, so there was a 1080p option. Okay, good. So in this universal login, I'm using the new interface. The classic one looks a bit old, so I just wanted the new one. Here you can update the logo, the primary colors, background color, etc. And then also you can add social connections here. There are a lot of things. Here, for example, Google is the one that you can see here. Continue with Google. You can add Apple, Facebook, and you can see. In the free plan, we can add two. So Google and maybe Facebook. But if you're using paid plans or something, you can use more as well, of course. I do have a username and password, so let me just quickly bring that out. Oh no. Okay, I can do. Cool. Let me just quickly forget password, email address. I don't even remember my own email password. Reset your password. I'm gonna copy the link address from here. New password. So don't use. So I don't know. Booksy 123 123. Cool. Alright, password changed. Now we can just go back to logging in. Alright, log in. Let me just quickly do this again. Alright, now we're logged in. So you can see the access token here. It gives us the access token, expires in, ID token, scope, profile, OpenID, email, etc. etc. Alright, so now we have this. It gets a bit trickier from here on out, so just bear with me. We have a key from Auth0, but we want to communicate with our FaunaDB database here. All right. What we want to do is, first of all, you can create an account on FaunaDB and then create a database. And the cool thing about FaunaDB is they have nested databases. So you can create this root databases and come here and create child databases here. So for example, the one I'm going to be using is Booksy staging. And you can also create another child database with that. And you can look up the documentation. It's a pretty cool feature. You can have, you can basically partition your data in different databases, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty fast. But anyway, without going too much details into how FaunaDB works in general, let's just explain what we want to do basically here. So the databases in FaunaDB and the client SDK that we want to use needs a secret, an API key, if you will, to use the database. But what we got is the ID token from Auth0 that the user got after authentication. What we want to do is connect the user's Auth0 identity to our FaunaDB identity. So I have already created a collection here. You can obviously create a new collection and do everything. But as you can see, I have this users collection. I just added a few fields. Then email and username are the most important, what we want to do. And we want to get this information from the Auth0 account that the user created. Well, basically it's our account, but it was used with the Auth0 authentication system. We want to connect it to this collection. So we want to import all the users to our FaunaDB collection. So you just go ahead and create a new collection, add a few fields, and that's it. So let's now do this. I mean, I have already an account for me here. I can just delete it. And the cool thing about FaunaDB is it has indexes. So I have an index here called users by email, and it indexes all the documents in that collection by a certain field, so it would be a quite fast operation and one atomic read when you want to search for something. For example, here I have a users by email, and it's based on data email, and the type is string, obviously. So here, for example, I can search for test@test.com. Oh, no results. Let me see what was the... Okay, sum@test.com. So if I go to my index, I can do sum@test.com, a search, here it goes. It can find it quite quickly, and you can create new indexes yourself for your collections and then have it serialized. I will explain more about this collection creation and other stuff in next session. This session we just want to connect it, and that's it. So for that you just need to add one collection and then one index, and the index would have data.email as a property to be indexed on. And now we want to connect our user that we got here to the FaunaDB thing. For that, we have to somehow read this token somewhere, and then convert it to a secret for our users collection in FaunaDB. The cool thing about FaunaDB has a notion called role-based or attribute-based access control, right? So each one of your collections can have roles that can be assigned to a certain task or a certain permission. So each user or each document can have its own access key or its own token to be used with FaunaDB client. I'm gonna show you how this works quickly. All right, so the first thing for that is we need to realize that how to connect this token and convert it to a token for this collection. For that, we want to use a server, and because it's going to be a bit difficult to set up a server in this session without taking like 3 hours, we can just create a new project using Vercel. So Vercel, which used to be called Zeit, is a serverless deployment system. So you can just write your Node.js or any other language like Python, Go, whatever, and then it deploys it for you. Whether it's like a front-end project or a back-end project, it doesn't matter. You can just like deploy it. And I'm gonna show you quickly how easy it is. So let's say that we have another. We go back here, make a project. So I'm gonna do this from scratch so you can see how really easy this is. So Booksy API. Booksy API. What I'm gonna do is yarn init, create a new project. That's it. That's all I want. And then here I'm gonna do yarn add now node this. I'm gonna do let's just open this in code and not torture ourselves. So here we can just create an API folder, and that's how the now project reads things. Cool. Just a second. Let me see what the types are. All right, cool. So here we want to create a new file called maybe exchange.ts, and it supports TypeScript out of the box. You don't need to do anything special for this. So you can do this, and then export default now request response now response, and you can basically see all of this in the documentation here. So where are the docs? So, well, now it's called Vercel, so not sites, but the docs. If you go here, go to serverless function, and they also have a free plan, so you can just use it. Here you go. That's what we want to do. We want to create just one file. Let's just paste this, and we can just go ahead and deploy this. And this is just as simple as it gets. And for deploying it, you have like CLI app called now, and just you call it like this. All right, yes. Go to Solar project. It says that I have already a project with this name. Do I want to use it? Yeah, I do want to use it. It's now deploying it. It's that simple. It did literally deploy the project. I mean, it will show the root right now, but we can disable this. But if we go to API exchange, we get this name John example here. It was that simple to deploy an API using now. Like, I literally did nothing. But yeah, so now we have an API. Easy peasy. And for doing this, actually, instead of like deploying it every time, you could also run now dev. That's it. Same thing. It gives you the same environment on your machine. Like, it doesn't do anything specifically different. So you can just, and then it has the live reload as well. So if I put John 123 here, this did reload, and then if I reload this, John 123. There is no bundling, no extra work to do. With one file, you have an API. So now we want to use this to connect to our FaunaDB project. What I want to do here is yarn add FaunaDB. Let's check the FaunaDB documentation. Node.js FaunaDB. What? Okay, I did not click on that. So it just says yarn add FaunaDB, and then what you do is just import it. So how do we import it? Is this import FaunaDB from FaunaDB, and then it has a query function which we can shortcut like this, const, because we're gonna use this queue so much, it doesn't. So usually you have to do this FaunaDB dot query blah blah blah, but you can basically shortcut it to queue. So what? Okay, const queue FaunaDB dot query. Now we have to create a client, const client, new FaunaDB.client, and then it requires a secret. And because this is our API, our secret needs to be an admin secret. In FaunaDB, you can have, like I said, with this attribute-based access control, you can have multiple secrets of different types. You can come to security. I added, let me just revoke this, add a new key, books staging current database. You can like implement it for a child database as well. Admin, server, normal user. For now, let's just do admin. I mean, admin is really powerful. It has access to all of your collections and everything in your database. So use this with caution, but server is a bit safer. It can do whatever we want to do. And then you can create like this third one, and the reason it's like looks different than the other one is something I have created. We will get into creating the roles in next session. I think it will be too big of a job for this session, so let's just use admin and then do the live stream key. And it shows you this key one time and then it goes away, right? So let's just put this secret here. And now our FaunaDB client is authenticated. All right, let's just remove this. There are a few things that we want to do here now that we have the FaunaDB client installed. We want to, where you go? Yeah, we want to be able to parse this access token and know who has contacted us. Basically, who is the user, what user do we need to create or sign up. So basically, we need to read this and then store it in our database. How we want to do that is we want to use the authorization key for our header for our API and read that. So I'm going to do token. Okay, authorization rec.headers.authorization. All right, and then here what we can do is put this hold. Okay, I need to also create a hater config here so it doesn't use 4 spaces. I hate 4 spaces. Well, I don't hate it, I just don't like it. Right? So let's put this whole thing in a try catch and always console.error our error, and the res.send. Okay, res.status 500. All right. Now that we have this, we can split this. The way usually authorization headers are sent are you send something like bearer your token. So what we want to do is do const token authorization dot split bearer. So it basically splits it to 2, or you can just replace this bearer part with nothing, which is a bit safer. So we can call this our token. Let's log our token to see actually we have it, and then res.json, just let's send back a success thing. Right, so our server is still running. Let's go here. Let's just create a new request. What's our API URL? This one. We just put this, go to headers, I put authorization bearer. I'm a bear. So now if we call this, we get success true, and in the logs we see I'm a bear. So we did read the authentication quite clearly. Now instead of putting that value, let's just put the value we got back from Auth0 with this long token. The cool thing about this token, and if I run this, my server just logged this whole token. So the cool thing about this token is that this is like a JWT token, JSON Web Token. It's a standard for specifying tokens on the internet and how APIs can communicate with each other. It's not like the safest thing on the planet, the data that is in. So for example, this token that I got, if I just put it in this online parser, it literally tells me what it has inside. It says the nickname is Salar, the name is this and that and that. So if somebody has this token, it means that they are who they say they are. The only way that we can be sure how this token was created is to verify it against a secret key, a secret that we have used to generate it. So there is a signature, like there is a signature here, and you can only verify this signature if you have the private key. So this is the public key that is included in the signature, but we need the private key to decode this. And if you go to your Auth0 dashboard, somehow, if I go to tenant settings, there is a signing key section. And in the signing key, it says currently used is this token, and I can copy signing certificate. So I can, in theory, verify that signature and make sure we have been the one who has created this token using this private key, right? So for that, let's just install the yarn add JSON. I was about to write JSON like the name. JSON with token. And then we need the types as well. Right, we have all this. Now we can import it. Import JWT from JSON with token. Now we can verify our token here, right? Decoded token would be JWT.verify, and verify needs the token, and that is token. Needs a secret, and then also it can have multiple options that pass to it. So one thing is we can make sure that it is created with the algorithm we want. So our token is created with the RS256 algorithm. So I just write RS. This is just to make sure that the token is created by us. So if I do this, and also there was issuer, like this is an issuer. See, the thing says issuer who created and signed this token. We want to make sure that we are the issuer. So in these options, you can specify issuer and say, I want the issuer to always be this. See, if you even don't pass this stuff, this will be decoded like you saw here. I just didn't do anything except like pasting this here. But once you do this, you always make sure that what's in the token actually matches what you actually want. So now we need these certificates. Let's just copy this and put it here. Const key. I mean, there are nicer ways to store this. Right now I'm storing it right here in the file, but you should move it to a secret storage like now's environment variables or something. But for this purpose, because I'm not deploying this yet, I'm just using it locally, I'm just gonna store it in this file. So if I pass this key to the second parameter of JWT verify, if this doesn't work, this will throw an error and this will be logged here. And if it works, let's just success true. Let's just return the decoded token. It did rebuild, and we come here and run it. There it goes. It was success true, and the decoded token nickname Solar, whatever. But now, for example, let's say that this token was tampered with, and somebody somehow changed this issuer to evil. Okay, see, invalid signature. Even this site didn't let me do it because this didn't match the signature. So I mean, unless this is matching it anyway, if this wasn't matching, this wouldn't work. So let me change this to Solar and see what happens now if I run it. It didn't return anything because JWT issuer invalid, expected solar.eu.auth0.com, but got something else, issuer invalid expected. So it didn't. Okay, let's status file that sent. Okay, not send, JSON success. Let's see if this returns. Stop and send. Okay, it worked. Now let's fix the app. It worked now. So now our server knows that who is our user. So what we want is nickname and well, name, because I don't have a name yet there. So I'm just gonna have email address and nickname for my purposes. So let me create an interface. Name, okay, nickname, string, string, and this thing would be decoded token. Well, alright, so now our decoded token includes the stuff that we actually want. So let's use those. What we want to do here at this point is just a second, check the chat. Alright, so we want to use const nickname, const username would be decoded token dot nickname, and const email would be decoded token dot email. We want to use these two variables to write our code to FaunaDB. Right? Okay, and if anything throws an error in this section, it will be caught with this, and then there it goes from there. Alright, what's the next step? So the way that FaunaDB works, you have a few options to write your code. You have the GraphQL way. Getting started. Okay. You can go straight and use GraphQL schemas to create your collections and everything. And it has a lot of documentation around that, which we'll be using. But there is a thing called FQL. And FQL is the Fauna query language for SQL users. And what we actually want to do here is a bit more advanced than what GraphQL provides with FaunaDB. So we want to use this. So in SQL, you have a lot of these select queries, other stuff, as you can see. And in FQL, there is a alternative to each one of these, and that's what we want to create. And it's pretty simple. You have to, simple is a strong word here, but there are a lot of directives that you can use, like built-in functions, as you can see in this list. And I'm going to use a few of them and try to explain it as simple as I can. But bear in mind that this is for a very advanced use case that we're using, because FaunaDB has its own login system. As you can see, you can create a simple login system with FaunaDB if you didn't want to use something like Auth0. But what I wanted to do is let the user sign up with Auth0 because it has a social login, logging in items and connect it to FaunaDB. So I'm actually not using the direct FaunaDB stuff here. Let me see if my camera is still rolling. Okay, before that, I'm gonna go have a sip of water and be back in 2 seconds. Sorry.
Sorry if I'm making this hard. Now I'm just wondering where we are. I don't wanna face the consequences, but baby, yeah, you know I hate second guessing. I'm just wondering where we are. Drifting into space, keep driving on the freeway. Baby, let me know what you are thinking. Baby, let me know what you are thinking. Overthinking out there in the clouds, drifting on and there for hours. Lately I've been trying to figure out, wonder if you're ever coming down, ever coming down. Look at me the way you do, keep giving myself into you. You know that I hate this part, surprised we ever got this far. We did go through all the circumstances, but baby, yeah, you know I hate second chances. Surprised we ever got this far.
Forgot the microphone. I'm back. Cool. So I'm gonna go through this code quickly, but you can just have a look at FaunaDB's documentation for learning more and watch a few videos if you're interested. Because if I want to go through what it actually does in details, this video will be like 6 hours long. But it's a cool thing. I would definitely recommend watching the videos around it. All right. So what we want to do is basically, let's just collapse everything. Let's create file. Yes. So basically, if in the API folder directory hasn't started with underscore, it will be created as a function, as a serverless function. But if it starts with an underscore or dot, basically Zeit or Vercel ignores it, and then you can just use it as utilities. So let me take the queue and everything that we have here. So this file won't be too crowded. And then we can write our utilities here and then import them. So now we have our identity. We know who the user is. Let's create a user, basically create a document for them in this collection, or sign them in if they already have a user, basically. And for that, we need 3 functions. We need export const sign in or sign up. And this function should take email string, username string, and then it should return a string. And that string will be our authentication key for FaunaDB. So let's just dive right to implementing it. And this sign in or sign up needs 2 more utility functions. One of them is sign in email. A sign in only needs like email. And the third one is sign up. And this one needs email string and username string. Alright, so first of all, we need to do client.query. Okay, so this client.query requires an expression, and this is the same concept as SQL or basically other relational databases. So what we want to do here is do an if statement, and you do that with if. And the if statement has basically 3 parts. The first part is the condition. The third part is what to do if true. And third is what to do if not true. So let's see what's our condition. And the reason that this is throwing an error is it requires like 3 arguments, which we're going to implement right now. And if it will go away. So the first is you do queue that is empty, and we want to know if something is empty. And what is empty is we want to search our index that I showed you, like we talked about the index, how it works. You just put an email or like whatever string and it searches the index. So we want to know if the index has what we want first or not. So we check that queue.match queue.index. So our index was users by email. That's what it was called. And then match takes the index and the value that you want from it, basically. And the value we want is email, right? So the first thing is if queue.empty match index with this email, this is basically doing the same thing that we did in this page. We searched for something. So if this is empty, it means the user hasn't signed up. user does not exist. User does exist, sign in. Let's first implement the sign in or sign up. Okay, what to do when the user does not exist? So we want to, okay, let is kind of lets you create some variables to use later. For example, here, let me just go here. These are the stuff that I want to define, and this is what I want to do with them. So I'm gonna do user ref. Is basically what we want to do is find the reference to wherever the user is. And because we don't have a user, we have to create it. So this would be q.select. I'm checking documentation. We want to select the ref. I'm not gonna explain this too much because honestly, if I explain it, this video will never end. So just look it up. And then we want to get the ref from the user sign up, which is here. And for sign up, we have to pass in email and username, right? And once we got this value, so this will return a ref in user ref. Once we return that, what we can do is do sign in, and then we can pass the variable user ref which we just created, and this is the user ref that we just created. Cool. And the third step is, so basically it first runs this function, and then this will return a reference. We select that reference, we store it in this user ref, and then we pass it to the sign-in function. So, but if the user does exist, then what we want to do again, we want to get the reference, user ref somehow. I'm going to fill in the somehow part. I somehow need a reference to the user. And then when I have that, I do the same thing that I did. I will do q.do. Okay, let's just write it because it's showing too many errors too. And then the ref could be q.select. This is the same thing. So we want a ref from q.get. Then the same thing that is here. So this is our user ref. So basically we want users by email, etc. So this is a bit getting complicated, but you get the idea. And then basically what we do here is, again, we sign in using the user ref. And why is it throwing an error? Okay, so sign in, here we wrongly put email because we actually are not passing string to sign in, we're passing a user reference. So this var returns expression. So this should take user ref FaunaDB expression. And also it needs to do something, and that's the reason it's throwing an error. Let me see the chat again in case. Alright, so I'm gonna try to quickly go through this. Alright, so the create user first is quite straightforward. You just do q let. So what we want to do is do the user, create a token for the user, and the way you do this is to create, so it wants a collection ref, collection, so our collection is called users, and the second argument is data, and that would be email and username. So this is our sign up method, which is quite simple. It creates an item in collection of users. That's it. And then here you can select the ref from it. Quite simple. But the sign in is a bit more complicated. So what you want to do is let. Here you want to create the user ref, basically. User token, and then let. So we have the user ref, and then with this user ref, do, create. The collection is this create is similar to this collection, but instead of that, we create tokens. Tokens is an internal FaunaDB parameter, and not parameter function, and then with that you can create internal authentication tokens, and we just create a reference to our user ref. So this will return sorry, it needs to be like this. Okay, cool. And then this will return, we just want to do something with it. Do. I'm checking the documentation quite a lot because this is difficult to write. And I promise this is the most difficult part. So we want the secret part of user token. Done. Okay. Oh wow, this was intense. So what this does is lets you define stuff. So the first part is defining something. We want to create a token and then return it and store it in this user token. And here we just select secret from that user token because it's an object that has a secret value, and then we store it and then return it from that. Like so, this let returns the last value that was returned from this. And basically here, if the user doesn't exist, create it and log in. If the user does exist, get the reference and log in. Now I can just use this, sign in or sign up. Const result. Email, username, and this should be an async document. Let's see what the result does. So now this should, okay, maybe access token results. Let's see what happens. So now we go here. Okay, this is running. We just run it. Wow, on first try, we got an access token. So this access token is, okay, this is an access token that is associated with a document that is stored in this users collection. As you can see, like it created Salar at kaboli.org, Salar, and it gave us this thing, right? So with this, what we can do is now we can, as you can see here in this DB, we created a new FaunaDB client with the admin secret. But if I were not to use this admin secret and instead use this secret that I just got back from the authentication, I would be able to use only the stuff that my user had access to, and that is what I'm going to talk about in the next session, to associate roles and permissions to my user and users collection to be able to do things, because we want to use this token right from our app, right? Okay, cool. Now let's just make this server thing again. So basically now what our server-side API does is it's simple. It just takes a token, decodes it, and creates the same username and email inside our FaunaDB and returns the access token. And with the access token, we can do stuff in the client side. Cool. Does anybody has any questions or anything that I can answer? There's only 5 people watching, but I mean. Cool. No questions. Seems like. All right. What we want to do is now connect this to our application here. So once this is done, once this is clicked and we have the access token, we can just exchange it for that. So basically here. And the place we want to do that here is this. I mean, we can change this to other places, etc. But let's just quickly do it here in line and then we can clean it up. So our ID token, let's see what was. So our ID token was in the credentials. And what we want to do here is fetch. We need to send a post request to this. Right. Okay, maybe not like this. URL. Post headers. Maybe authorization. Bearer. ID token. Why is it complaining? It's just a linter. And why is it still complaining? Okay, maybe it doesn't fetch. Check the documentation. See headers. Headers. Oh yeah, you need to add. Oh yeah. I don't like this. You have to create the headers. But anyway, this new headers. I mean, we can use a nicer thing later. But what? Okay, still. Okay, let's just use something else. This is just too not nice. What are we talking about? Format headers is meeting the bounds, request credentials. Ooh. There's so many things here. I don't want to do that. Let's just do got React Native. Does got work in React Native? No. I keep forgetting this. Okay, this should work. So what the hell is wrong with you? Okay, scratch all that. So yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. I'm dumb. If you do this, it becomes too advanced. All right, now it's the simple version. authorization bearer ID token. Cool, this is what we want. So basically return and then REST.json and then we can see what the rest is here. This will probably throw an error because React Native probably won't let us call an insecure URL, but let's just try to see what happens. Oh, it did work. It did let us call an insecure URL. Cool. So we could click sign in as a sign. Okay, this is trippy. What the hell? Okay. So we did click the sign in and sign up, and now we have a FaunaDB access token that we can store somewhere. And now if we have this token, it means that our app is authenticated. Let's quickly do that. Wow. All right. So let's create a utility thing and then API auth.ts. Let's cut this whole thing, put it here, and then move our auth0 stuff right on top. And then instead of this, authorize. So basically this will return this, and if not, it will so it says convert this to an async function. Thank you so much for this. And then as well here, just do this and then have it convert to async function and basically export, and we can call it clear session. So our authorize and clear sessions are right now in their own file. So from here we can just reference them. Okay, first of all, let's create a thing called token set token use state. No, and then the type of this can be string or no. We need two callbacks: const handle user sign in clicked, and for that we wanna have it async. Const token would be authorized, and that would be await authorize. And then do set token. Okay, maybe results instead of that, because that will conflict. Set token, and then handle sign out clicked, and this will clear session. And then this would set token to null again. So let's show and hide these buttons based on if we're signed in. If there is a token, then show this. If there is no token, then show this. So now we have only sign in and sign up. We click that, go there, come back. Now only sign out is visible, as you can see. So it did work. So now our token is set. It means that our user has been signed in. So what we can do is, after setting the token, we can what was our function? Navigation, set main as root. We can log in the user, set main as root. We wanted to show the page after the user was logged in. So after sign in, we sign in. Here we go. Now we're logged in. Cool. The issue here is now that we don't remember if we have it. So if I reload, I'm in the same place. The user has to click sign in again and get the token again, and we don't want to like create 2 million tokens for the user every time. So let's store this somewhere and then reuse it. Okay, React Native async storage. Maybe that is a good place to do. All right. So async storage is an unencrypted, asynchronous, persistent. It says deprecated. Use React Native Community async storage instead. Asynchronous, unencrypted, persistent key value storage for React Native. I mean, we can use basically an encrypted system, but for now, let's just use the async storage. This is the simplest way of storing things in React Native. Let me just install it. What I want to do basically is use the async storage of the device. Let me see a flipper. And then retrieve it once the app has started up. So if you show your own problems. Okay, I don't care about that right now. Yeah, let's install this. Oh. Now I just do cd iOS, pod install. Okay. Now we just need to use it. So let's create a helper here for this. Okay, let's run the project again just to make sure it works. I created a file called storage.ts, which I want to store all this storage related stuff. So let's just import it and then use it like this. We want to do key string and value string. Whoa, value any. It should be string, right? So is the second value always a string or set item value string? Yes, it needs to be a string. So let's just use the string for now. I mean, we can improve this thing later. And for the set item, let's always prefix it with something. Booksy / the key and then the value, right? Then we don't need to cover it. Oh. So this will just return void. And then we need the get item. Just this. Export const retrieve this would be promise string or undefined, because we want a string or undefined back if it's not found. And then when we try, the value would be, and then again let's specify the key at booksy key, and this is a wrong signature. Yes, and then return, well, maybe just return this and attach e, so e, and then return nothing. What does it return? Oh, it does return null as the thing. Cool, now we have store and retrieve, right? So here, after this token has been stored, we don't even need to store it now here in this. What we do is await store result, and this would be auth key. And then we don't need to sign up for now because our sign up would be in another page. So let's just get rid of all this and then go back to our. So now we would store this with auth key. We don't need this anymore. This anymore. Pretty simple, eh? Let's reload for good measure. Now it does this and it throws an error. JSON value access token. Oh, okay, sorry. Oh, so this thing, this result is actually not the, okay, here. So this should return a string. Where was it? Here. Let's reload. There you go. Okay, now the token should be stored in our async storage. So what we want to do here is inside of our index.js, if that value is stored, then use it. If not, show the authentication page. So if, okay, first of all, let's just make this async. Token retrieve auth key with console log token. If token, set main as root, else set auth as root. So if we have the token, then we set the main as root and we set the auth as root. Reload. Always coming back to the home screen. See, this is nice. Now we need a logout, obviously, so let's just go to our settings page, quickly create a button, title, logout, on press, logout, clicked. I mean, this is not a click, but you get the idea. So basically what this does is async and then await clear session and then await set. Oh, we need a delete. We need a remove item. This is getting a bit ugly, so I'm gonna I'm gonna make this a bit nicer later. For now, let's just export const. See, it's not pretty. It's like really ugly. I don't like ugly stuff, right? Now we don't need this. We need to create a helper for this. So in the settings screen, after that we do remove auth token, auth key, and then set auth as root. So now we're logged in. Log out. Now we reload, we're always logged out. Because we logged out, now we have to type it again. It worked. Cool. All right, I'm gonna take a 2-minute break, or maybe, I don't know, 5 minutes, and we'll be back as soon as I can to set up the rest. What we want to do here in this screen, in the settings screen, just show our profile, and then we'll be done for the day at least, and then we can clean the rest of this stuff up in the next sessions. I'm gonna be back soon. Talk to you in a second. Hello. Alright, sorry for the delay. Oh. What is that? Just a second, sorry. Okay, cool. So, let's do something. One of these tokens that we got, for example, this one, we can reuse it because it's already created. If you go to FaunaDB and click on GraphQL, which I'll explain in next session, you can authenticate with your user basically. And they also take the same thing. So if we write a new query and write me, and then basically email and username, and run this, we have Solar. So now we want to use GraphQL to do that. So for that, we're gonna, I have never used this library, but I've heard a lot about it online. I feel like this would be a good thing if it be React Native. Yeah, it does support React Native. It does? No, this is the footer. All right, let's try it to see if it works or not. So here, let's add this GraphQL and Oracle. Basically in our app, where's our app? Our register screens. So here in this appearance provider, we can create this thing. I mean, we can move this to a better place later, but let's just do what the documentation says and do this Oracle create client. What's our client URL? Is this GraphQL URL? Where it go? Here. And then provider value client. We also need authentication. API. Where do you specify authentication here in this? Okay. Show me where is the thing. Fetch options. So it has a fetch options thing. Fetch options. So what does it take? Is it a promise? So you can return headers authorization error. For now, let's just use our test token that we used here, and then we can change it to that thing right there. Alright, does it work so far? Yes, it does. So let's go back to the Oracle documentation. Now we just need a query. Use query from Oracle. So we come to settings, and here paste this use query, and then the query was me, and then email and username. So this is the same thing that we had here. Let's do console log res. Here, it did return it. So it has the fetching. So what we can do is there's the fetching and activity indicator. There's the data, and the data has me dot email. If we have raised the data me, and then we write what we want here. So what we want here is res the data dot me dot email. What's wrong with you? Oh, okay, it doesn't support this yet. There's the data, and there's the data with me. Nice. And then we can put this logout button here, and then we can create also a username. Let's do it. Okay. Now the thing is this, I cheated a bit, and so this works. I cheated a bit, and the token that we're using is not coming from the thing. So let's see what this fetch options is. Okay, we want it to be sync, not async, and our token is not async. The token that we get here is not async. Okay, let's do something really stupid for now. Maybe we can come up with a better. Let's user token cache undefined for string. So const get token. Token cache. Const set token. Token cache equals token. So we want to store it somewhere and be able to use it. So when here we do this, we do set token, and then we want to do the same thing in auth, and that would be set token results. Then in this register, let's console log to see if we have that. Console log get token. Yes, we have the token. So instead of that, let's create const token get token. So if token. Okay, this is still not good, but maybe it is not bad as well. There you go, it works. So now if you log out, done. Now if you log in, it works. All right, I'm gonna commit these changes, but we do need to do a lot of cleanup. This is just really crude, and everything just works. Everything, authentication just works. I will commit the code to the repository, and I will put the link in the description. And I think we can take it from here in the next session. This has been almost 2 hours, and I don't think I can go much longer. But that's it, folks. Let's just remove this. I hope you have a nice weekend, and let me know if you have any questions. You can ask me on Twitter, and then we can continue doing this with each other maybe next week. All right, peace.